Ever wonder what kept knights and soldiers going during battles that lasted for days? Can you imagine marching for miles in heavy armor without a proper meal? The secret lies in medieval military rations, simple yet effective foods that powered armies through conquest and defense. Number 8. Hardtack, the indestructible cracker. Did you know some soldiers actually saved hardtack as souvenirs? These rock-hard biscuits could last for years without spoiling. Hardtack was the ultimate medieval military food, simple flour and water baked into a dense, dry cracker that could withstand just about anything. Soldiers would often carry these tasteless discs in their packs, ready to be softened in soup, wine, or even just water when hunger struck. The Romans called their version bucellatum, and it remained virtually unchanged for centuries. Making hardtack was straightforward. Mix flour and water, roll it flat, cut it into squares, poke holes to help it bake evenly, and then bake it until completely dry. The result? A food that could withstand months of travel, extreme temperatures, and even hungry insects most of the time. Soldiers developed creative ways to make hardtack more palatable. Some would crush it and mix it with whatever fats were available: lard, bacon grease, or even animal fat scraped from used cooking pots. Others would soak it in broth until soft enough not to break teeth. During the Crusades, European soldiers learned to dip hardtack in olive oil from Middle Eastern cultures, adding both flavor and precious calories. The nickname tooth dullers wasn't just a joke. Hardtack was notorious for causing dental problems among troops. Medieval military records actually account for soldiers being unable to fight due to broken teeth and subsequent infections from attempting to eat particularly aged hardtack. Number 7. Peas porridge, the medieval energy bowl. Have you heard the nursery rhyme, peas porridge hot, peas porridge cold? It actually references a staple food that kept medieval armies functioning. Dried peas were a military logistics miracle. Lightweight, high in protein, and virtually imperishable when dried, they could be quickly transformed into a filling porridge that provided sustained energy. Most medieval armies traveled with large quantities of dried peas, which could be prepared in a single communal pot. Peas porridge had remarkable staying power. A pot would be kept continuously simmering, with new ingredients added as needed. The famous rhyme continues with peas porridge in the pot, 9 days old, a reality for many military camps where the same pot might indeed keep going for over a week. Each day, the cook would add more peas, water, and whatever seasonings or meat scraps were available. The nutritional value of peas porridge shouldn't be underestimated. The dried legumes provided protein and carbohydrates, essential for soldiers expending massive amounts of energy in combat and travel. During the 100 Years' War, English longbowmen who needed exceptional upper body strength to draw their powerful bows relied heavily on peas porridge to maintain their physical capabilities. Military cooks would sometimes enhance peas porridge with foraged herbs or vegetables, especially wild onions and garlic, which not only improved flavor but also provided immune-boosting properties. During the Crusades, European armies discovered new spices that occasionally made their way into the porridge pot, though these were more common in officers' meals than those of common soldiers. Number 6. Sausages, portable protein packages. Did you know that some medieval armies marched into battle with strings of sausages hanging from their belts? These weren't just for decoration. Sausages were the ultimate medieval fast food, ready to eat without preparation and designed for preservation. By grinding meat, often the less desirable parts, mixing it with fat, salt, and herbs, then stuffing it into cleaned animal intestines, medieval butchers created portable protein that could last for weeks without refrigeration. The smoking and curing process was particularly important for military sausages. Different regions developed their own preservation techniques. German armies were known for their heavily smoked wurst that could withstand lengthy campaigns, while Mediterranean forces utilized more salt and air-drying methods. During the winter months, frozen sausages provided a convenient ration that would keep itself preserved in the cold weather. Sausages served a crucial psychological function as well. Unlike hardtack or porridge, sausages resembled real food, boosting morale among troops. Records from the 1300s mention commanders ensuring sausage distribution before particularly difficult battles or sieges, recognizing their value beyond mere nutrition. The variety was surprising. While pork was most common, sausages made from beef, game meat, and even fish could be found depending on the region and season. Some military sausages contain surprising ingredients like blood mixed with grains to create early versions of blood sausage or black pudding, providing iron and additional nutrients. During long campaigns, soldiers would save special spiced sausages for celebrations or victories. After the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, English archers reportedly celebrated with preserved sausages they had carried all the way from England, saving them specifically for a victory feast. Number 5. Cheese, the ancient energy bar. Can you imagine carrying a month's worth of protein in a small leather pouch? Medieval soldiers did exactly that with hard cheese. Cheese was nature's perfect military ration, calorie-dense, protein-rich, and remarkably preserved when properly aged and dried. Hard cheeses like Parmesan, Romano, and certain cheddars could last for months without refrigeration, making them ideal for long campaigns. A small amount provided significant energy and protein, critical for maintaining strength in battle. The preservation process for military cheeses was particularly intense. Wheels would be aged longer than civilian versions, often coated in wax or cloth soaked in vinegar to protect against mold. The harder and drier the cheese, the longer it would last in a soldier's pack. Some varieties became so hard they required special tools to cut or grate them. Soldiers would often carry a small knife specifically for this purpose. Cheese production became strategically important for medieval kingdoms preparing for war. Records from the 1200s show English crown orders for specially prepared campaign cheese months before military operations. These weren't just any cheeses, they were made with specific recipes designed for durability in the field, often with higher salt content and longer aging periods than regular versions. Interestingly, cheese also provided necessary calcium for armies on the move. Medieval medical texts recognized that soldiers who consumed cheese regularly suffered fewer bone fractures and healed more quickly from injuries. Though they didn't understand the vitamin science, the observable effects were clear enough to encourage cheese distribution. Different armies had their preferred varieties. Swiss mercenaries were known to carry their native hard mountain cheeses, while Italian forces favored aged pecorino and early versions of Parmesan. During the Crusades, European soldiers encountered Middle Eastern cheeses preserved in brine or oil, sometimes adopting these techniques for their own rations. Number 4. Dried fruits, nature's candy for warriors. Would you believe that prunes helped win medieval battles? These humble dried fruits provided crucial nutrients when fresh food was impossible to find. Dried fruits served as both emergency rations and dietary supplements for medieval armies. Apples, plums, figs, and dates could be dried in summer months and carried throughout campaigns, providing quick energy, fiber, and vital vitamins. Particularly valued were dried apricots and prunes, which helped combat the digestive issues common among armies on the move. The preservation process was straightforward but effective. Fruits would be sliced thin and dried in the sun or near fires, then packed in cloth bags or wooden boxes with herbs to discourage insects. Unlike modern dried fruits, these contained no added sugar. They were simply concentrated versions of the fresh fruit, with intensified natural sweetness. Military leaders recognized the importance of these foods for maintaining health. By the 1300s, some military contracts specifically included provisions for dried fruits to prevent scurvy and other deficiency diseases. During winter campaigns when no fresh produce was available, these rations could make the difference between an effective fighting force and a sick, weakened one. Dried fruits also played a cultural role in medieval military life. They were often distributed during religious festivals that occurred during campaigns, serving as small luxuries when formal celebrations weren't possible. During the Crusades, Western European soldiers discovered new varieties like dates and figs, which eventually became popular military rations throughout Europe. Interestingly, dried fruits sometimes served diplomatic purposes as well. Records from the 1200s mention knights carrying specially prepared dried fruit collections as gifts when negotiating with potential allies or when arranging terms with besieged castles, as these preserved foods were universally valued. Number 3. Salted fish, sea protein for land battles. Ever wondered why so many medieval battles happened near coastlines or rivers? Access to preserved fish was sometimes just as important as strategic positioning. Salted fish was a protein powerhouse that could fuel armies for months. Herring was particularly popular in northern European campaigns, while Mediterranean armies relied heavily on salted anchovies and sardines. The preservation process was simple but effective. Fish would be gutted, packed in salt, and dried, creating a durable food source that could withstand the rigors of campaign life. The logistics of fish transportation shaped military movements. During the Hundred Years' War, English army provisions frequently included vast quantities of salted cod and herring transported in barrels. These fish were so important that supply routes were often planned specifically to maintain access to these protein sources. Some military historians argue that control of the North Sea herring trade actually influenced battle strategies more than is commonly recognized. Preparation methods varied widely. Northern European soldiers might pound dried cod until soft enough to eat, while Mediterranean forces often soaked salted anchovies in wine or oil to restore some moisture and palatability. In both cases, the high salt content meant these rations also helped replace salts lost through sweating in heavy armor, an unintended but beneficial side effect. Salted fish created interesting social dynamics within medieval military camps. Because it could be eaten without cooking, soldiers on guard duty or scouting missions relied heavily on it, developing recipes and preparation methods shared among these specialized units. Some military manuscripts contain notes about specific ways to make salted fish more palatable during long watches, including mixing it with garlic or soaking it in beer. During religious periods like Lent, when Christian soldiers were forbidden to eat meat, salted fish consumption increased dramatically. Military planners had to account for these religious observances, sometimes scheduling campaigns specifically to coincide with periods when fish would be accepted as the primary protein source. Number 2. Beer and wine, safe hydration for warriors. Did medieval soldiers really drink beer instead of water? Absolutely, and it might have saved countless lives. Alcohol wasn't just for celebration in medieval armies, it was often safer than water. Low-alcohol beer and wine killed harmful bacteria that caused dysentery and other waterborne illnesses that could devastate military forces. A typical soldier might consume up to a gallon of weak beer daily, not primarily for intoxication but for safe hydration. Military-grade beverages differed significantly from civilian versions. Small beer contained just enough alcohol, 1 to 2%, to make it safe while not impairing fighting ability. It was often brewed specifically for campaigns, with additional herbs that were believed to provide health benefits or increase vigor. Some military brewers added extra grains to create a more nutritious liquid that functioned almost as a meal in itself. Wine served similar purposes in Mediterranean campaigns. Often diluted with water, which the wine's alcohol content would help sanitize, it provided safe hydration while delivering calories from its natural sugars. During sieges, when fresh water sources might be deliberately contaminated by enemies, these alcoholic beverages became even more crucial for maintaining army health. The logistics of supplying beer and wine shaped military movements. Armies would often plan routes that allowed access to breweries or vineyards that could replenish supplies. During Edward III's campaigns in France, English supply ships delivered thousands of barrels of ale, carefully calculated to maintain the fighting effectiveness of his forces. Interestingly, controlling alcohol consumption became an important aspect of military discipline. Records from various medieval campaigns mention specific rations and times for distribution, with penalties for soldiers who became drunk. Some military commanders developed complex dilution schedules, reducing alcohol content before battles while allowing stronger drinks during rest periods. Number 1. Beans and legumes, the forgotten fuel of conquest. How did armies maintain strength through months-long sieges? The humble bean might have been their secret weapon. Beans, lentils, and chickpeas were the unsung heroes of medieval military nutrition. These dried legumes could be stored indefinitely, transported easily, and transformed into hearty, protein-rich meals with minimal equipment. A single sack could provide sustenance for days, making them logistical marvels for army quartermasters. The variety was surprising. Fava beans dominated northern European military supplies, while chickpeas and lentils were staples in Mediterranean and Middle Eastern campaigns. During the Crusades, European soldiers encountered new legume varieties and cooking techniques, sometimes adopting these methods for their own military cuisines. Preparation methods evolved specifically for campaign conditions. Beans would be soaked overnight in water, then cooked in large communal pots, often with whatever meat scraps, bones, or herbs were available. The resulting stew provided complete protein when combined with grains like barley or wheat, sustaining physical strength even when fresh meat wasn't available. Military records from the 1300s show surprising sophistication in bean storage and preparation. Some armies traveled with pre-soaked, partially dried beans that required less cooking time and fuel, an early version of instant food developed specifically for military efficiency. Others carried beans that had been parboiled and ray-dried, significantly reducing preparation time in the field. The digestive effects of beans were actually considered militarily advantageous in some situations. Historical accounts mention the deliberate serving of bean-heavy meals before nighttime encampments threatened by surprise attacks. The resulting digestive discomfort helped ensure more soldiers remained awake during vulnerable hours. Innovation in bean preparation sometimes led to civilian culinary advances. The cassoulet of southern France, for instance, has roots in military cooking techniques where beans were slowly cooked with whatever meats were available, creating a durable, reheatable meal that could sustain forces for days. Did you know some of these ancient military foods still influence modern emergency rations? Would you have survived on a medieval soldier's diet, or would you have deserted at the first sight of 9-day-old peas porridge?